In the May episode of the Sunshine Coast Real Estate Podcast, we'll talk about lower demand and why time is running out for sellers.
We're back after a couple months off, and Tony was away on a trip.
In Australia.
Yeah. Had you been to Australia before?
Yeah, once or twice. Yeah. It was my sister's wedding, so it was beautiful. She and her new husband got married down in the Swan Valley, so it was a little bit warm. It was a outdoor wedding, and it was about 46 to 48 degrees. So it's
nothing for you Aussies, though.
Nothing for us. Yeah, it was nice and cool for us. But yeah, it was very hot while we were down there, and it took a little bit of time to get acclimatized back here. I was freezing for like the first 3 weeks getting back.
One thing that is not hot on the Sunshine Coast right now,
real estate,
is the spring real estate market.
Yeah.
Usually this is a really busy time of year, and I'm wondering why it has not been that way so far this year.
Well, last year it had the market had about half as many, talking detached homes, had about half as many listings as there are on the market now. And I think those numbers was about 170 detached homes for sale this time last year, and now I think we're at about 320. So the thing that was holding prices steady was lack of inventory, and now there's kind of like a cascade of listings coming on the market, and so that kind of would lead me to believe that prices are going to start to get soft. And anyone thinking of selling should, price their property sharp, get ahead of the market. And people that maybe bought at the peak and are now needing to sell could be in a little bit of trouble.
One thing I think buyers are waiting for are lower interest rates. Here in April, the Bank of Canada held its rates steady, but there was a lot of talk that we were actually going to see the rate maybe go down. That didn't produce itself. And why didn't that happen?
I think the Bank of Canada is doing a pretty good job trying to stay ahead of inflation. And I think that, their goal is to get inflation, down to the low twos. I think recently I just saw a couple of days ago the inflation in March was 2.9%. So I do not think that we're going to see a rate drop. If we were to see a rate drop, the people that I've talked to have said, maybe September-ish, we might see a quarter point drop. And in the States, I think you were telling me that, inflation has gone up for the last 3 months in a row. So you may even see an interest rate increase south of the border, which would, maybe lead to us, well, definitely not reducing interest rates, but maybe even putting them up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that if we see rates go up in the States, then I think it puts the Bank of Canada in a little bit of a tough spot. That you're right, that the best case scenario would be to hold the rate even. But if the Americans really start cranking it, if it's not just a quarter point and done for the Americans, if they keep raising it, then I don't think the Bank of Canada has any choice other than to raise rates a little bit. But everything I'm hearing too is that there's the June rate cut is likely off the table, and there's an outside chance in July. But probably going to be fall before it's seriously considered again.
I'm seeing buyers kind of not give up on that, but I do see in the last few weeks buyers have started pulling the trigger on stuff. And I think the properties, that are priced appropriately, like based upon what recent comparable sales have been, are getting activity on them. We've had quite a good week on Team True Blue, had quite a few offers and deals come together on properties that have sat for, longer than I typically would like them to sit. Mm-hmm. But we have started seeing some action, and it looks like buyers are pulling the trigger. And as a seller, it's just important to, not hang on to last year's pricing, price it based upon what recent sales have been and not based upon what other listings that have been sitting there for 60, 70, 80 days are listed at. And if you do that, I think we've probably got, 6 to 8 weeks of activity. And then once summer hits here, I think, we could be seeing some further price adjustments, especially if there isn't an interest rate cut, and the amount of inventory that is coming on the market now continues, because it's kind of scary how much stuff is coming on the market.
Even if there is a rate cut, what does that look like for buyers? I think the logic is that people are saying, the rate goes down, that the market will be flooded with buyers that are ready to buy. But is it really only a quarter point or a half point that is keeping the market from taking off, or is it a more substantial rate cut is needed for that to happen?
I don't think that a rate cut's necessarily going to, kick off a really busy market. I think the buyers are just looking for a little bit of security in that the market isn't going to crash kind of thing, or that, if they wait another 3 months, there's not going to be better deals out there. I think that most buyers now, can see that things are kind of stable. Interest rates aren't going up, they're not going down. 5%, 6% isn't a bad interest rate. I mean, it's, money is meant to cost money, and it's not free money anymore. So I think people are more realistic in what they're planning and what they're doing. But I think just for a seller on the Sunshine Coast, if you're looking to sell, you really want to get ahead of forgetting interest rates, just the volume of inventory coming on the market, because the more inventory, the more kind of downward pressure that's going to have on prices. And so you want to kind of get your property sold and move on to your next thing, than get caught up in the middle of that and be in a fall market on the Sunshine Coast, which is, typically slower anyway, with an excess of inventory. Eventually, people are going to have to start selling. So the motivated sellers are going to be the ones that are going to be setting the median, house prices or cost per square foot that you can expect to get. I think no matter what really happens in the next little bit with interest rates, we're not going to see that spike post-COVID kind of days where there were multiple offers for everything. What's really busy now are between 700 and 900,000 in that range, and that's because that's what a lot of people can qualify for. The days of being able to get a mortgage of 1.5 million for $5,000 a month is done, right? $5,000 a month will get you about 950,000 now, and that's the median income wise of people buying on the Sunshine Coast, that seems to be where they are. So, the busy market is under $1 million, and stuff over $1 million tends to be sitting right now.
So far this year, we've had a trifecta of less than great news on the Sunshine Coast as far as the real estate market goes. We've had a slow spring. The interest rates are higher than people want them to be. And in BC, starting on May 1st, the STR or short-term rental legislation comes into effect. What impact, if any, does that have here on the Sunshine Coast?
From what I hear, I don't have any short-term rentals myself. I have a few clients that have bought them in the past, but none on the books at the moment. But friends of mine that have them and people that I talk to are saying that Sechelt has already started following the provincial rules because they were kind of mandated to do it. They haven't been renewing licenses. They've been warning operators that they're going to be fined. So it seems like they are going to have some teeth when it comes to it, and they are actively monitoring Airbnb or VRBO or the sites where people are advertising short-term rentals, and they've apparently hired someone that's doing that. So it seems like they are, legitimate about trying to cut that off and increase, or, the idea, I think, is that those short-term rentals are going to go back into the long-term rental pool, but realistically, a lot of the owners can't service the debt that they're in having those properties unless they're getting short-term rental. So I expect a lot of them to be hitting the market because they can't put them onto the long-term rental or into the long-term rental pool and service the debt that they're in owning the property. So they're going to start to sell. So those owners should be, anyway, getting ahead of everybody else listing those cottages because, there should be quite a few coming on given the amount that are in that short-term rental pool according to the stats that I've seen and the platforms themselves. I don't know for a fact that Gibsons is going to be as heavy-handed or adopt those provincial regulations. They've got their own. They seem to still be handing out licenses to properties that don't necessarily meet that provincial criteria. And the SCRD has its, can make up its own mind as well on how it wants to handle. So that was just specific to Sechelt.
And even if you're not invested in short-term rentals, if you're a homeowner on the Sunshine Coast that lives in your home and isn't renting it out, that still is not great news for your resale value if you're trying to sell. If there's a lot more property coming on here this spring and early summer because of the STR legislation.
Absolutely, yeah. So if we look at the lower Sunshine Coast population being 20,000, we have an extra, say, 50 units come on at one time that wouldn't typically be there. That's, again, in addition to all the additional inventory that's on now. I think we're going to see additional downward pressure on prices. So, again, that's, there'll be early adopters, I guess, people that early on want to try to get those properties sold. But if they wait until, if there's a lot of them that are like, we'll just get the last bit of revenue over summer, and then we have to stop in August or whenever the drop dead date is, and then all of them list at that time, then it's going to be tougher to get a good price for for that property. I still think there will be buyers for them because, Sunshine Coast is so well situated as far as time from Vancouver. If you're not looking to rent it out or make a buck short term and you are just going to use it for a legacy property or intergenerational shared family property or something like that, it's still great. I know a lot of people that are looking for, like lakefront property, that type of thing. So they'd enjoy it if some of that inventory came on. But ultimately, if you're looking to sell a short-term rental property that you bought in the last 2 years and maybe paid a premium for or won in a multiple offer, you probably want to get that property listed and sold ahead of time and kind of cut your losses and get it done, because the longer it stays, probably the less it's going to be worth. Or the longer you put off listing it, the lower your asking price is realistic asking price is going to be.
So with all that in mind, what is your advice for sellers as a group this May in 2024?
In general, if you're a seller looking to sell now to the end of May, I would, hire or interview a few different realtors to try to, get a good idea of what your property's worth. I'd be wary of overpricing it or trying to leave negotiating room. A lot of sellers that I talk to are a little bit confused, and they think, well, I need to price it $20,000 more than I want, because if I do that, then it leaves me some negotiating room. You're under absolutely no obligation to take an offer. And if you work with an agent like myself, that other agents know that I'm going to get close to ask price, or I price it kind of where we see the value, me and the seller, then you're going to get either offers at that price or above. You're not necessarily going to get a lowball offer or a cheaper offer, but it's that type of market. People will try their luck, right? No one knows how motivated someone is or that type of thing. But in general, if you do need to sell, look at recent comparable solds, price your home at the comparable price that you are willing to accept. Factor in all your fees and all that kind of stuff ahead of time, and then stick to that price. You're much better off doing that than overpricing, then doing price reductions and ultimately chasing the market down. And if, what I think both of us are predicting are true, and you've only got 6 to 8 weeks to sell, you don't want to play those games. You want to get it sold as quick as you can.
How about for buyers? What's your advice to buyers here in May 2024?
Buyers, I'd say, you can kind of see what the landscape's going to be pretty much. Considering what we talked about before, where inflation is and the likelihood of interest rate cuts. Obviously I can't give mortgage advice. I'd recommend that they engage with the mortgage broker and see what they think about variable rate or fixed rates, or, how they want to do that. But for me, it's like a prime time now to buy and, look at recent comparable sales of a property that you're looking at. If the property's overpriced by the listing agent or the seller's kind of, fishing for a good price, don't feel bad about writing an appropriately priced offer and seeing where you can get to. And, obviously work with a local agent that knows the market. I'd avoid working with an out-of-market agent. I know some of them, there are some agents that do that. And, quite often I'm more than happy to have one of them come through, because I know they have no idea about value and they're comparing it to West Vancouver or North Vancouver, and aren't necessarily doing their buyers a favour with that lack of knowledge. But for me, representing a seller, I'm more than happy for someone to come in and see value. And the thing is it is a fantastic value for what you get for your money here compared to the other side of the water. Obviously. There are some detriments to living on the Sunshine Coast as far as, lifestyles and that kind of stuff. If you're not super into the outdoors, that kind of thing, it might not be perfect for you. But in general, if you're a retiree or a young family, that seems to kind of be the sweet spot for the Sunshine Coast. And there should be some good deals out there. And I wouldn't sit on the fence too much longer, because, you never know what's going to happen. And especially if you've got a young family, it'd be nice to be in for the new school year.
Tony, what do you have for listings for May of 2024?
What don't I have, Paul? I've got a full lineup of delightful listings, but there's four. These four, are jumping out at me anyway, just as far as the quality and the opportunity. So the first one was the one that we did the April Fools on, the Firburn. Right. That's had a lot of action since then. So we've had a few nice days as well as, and it's a beautiful view and that kind of stuff. This local celebrity as well did a walkthrough for me. I think that channel's live on the Sunshine Coast, something like that.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that.
A really nice walkthrough done there. So that one got a $50,000 price drop recently. It's an absolute gorgeous home. I'd recommend checking out that walkthrough that was done and easy to show. So if anyone wants to see that one, it's a great offering. Another one is 395 Skyline. It's known affectionately as the tree house or the bird house. It's really nice custom home, very, very unique, and the right kind of buyers I think are really going to love that one. So we've had a lot of activity on that. That one may not be available by the time this goes to air, but it is a really cool, funky place. Shoal Lookout, we've got that lot on there. That was under contract for a while. Again, in the bluff, close to 395 Skyline. Great for someone looking to build a home down there, and those waterfront beautiful view lots, level, ready to build on, don't come along very often. So that one's there and it's ready to go. And then we have 1127 Malcolm Creek. That's built by Brooke Hamilton from Hamilton Fine Homes. It's a beautiful acreage on Malcolm Creek Road. We sold one of them. This one's left. Got some great tenants in it that want to stay, so it's also got the potential to be a great investment opportunity for someone, and they'd be the four that I'd say check out.
Malcolm Creek Road, it's a really nice property in that it has potential for a suite at the bottom. So even if somebody did want to live in it and then wanted a little bit of a mortgage helper, it's a really nice downstairs with a walkout basement, covered patio, and is just all around a really nice property in a nice location.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, the current tenants rent the whole house.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely. It could definitely have a mortgage helper or be a multi-generational property or whatever someone wanted to do. And it's you got to kind of see it to really appreciate it. The video does a good job. So hopefully we'll have that link in there and for sure check that out. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. While you're here, maybe you want to check out one of my listings or watch my video about why you should choose me to sell your home.